What's this? The amount of money we'd get from Mortal Kombat 13. Are we actually calling it that? Probably not. Oh, he's cute. Look at that little guy. Alright, that's the money we'd make for Injustice 3. You know, it's less money, but players might like a break from Mortal Kombat. What is that? That's the money we'd make remastering Mortal Kombat 9. Or Mortal Kombat X. The fans really want to see it. Not gonna happen. My mistake. I thought you liked money. Remake Mortal Kombat 9. Players have been asking this for years, especially after it got removed from Steam. If you don't already own Mortal Kombat 9, then good luck playing it because it's hard to find anywhere. Put simply, this game is in demand and the supply is low, making it the perfect moneymaker for WB, and it would make Mortal Kombat fans happy too. Plus, remasters are much easier and cheaper to make than sequels, which is why the game industry is so obsessed with them lately. And in fact, players are already able to emulate Mortal Kombat 9 themselves, so the technology is there. Stark remastered this game in a cave with a box of scraps, which means NetherRealm could likely do it too. And when you add all these details together, it begs the question, why is MK9 Remastered not a thing yet? Along with MKX, honestly, because I feel like fans would buy that game too, and the game did launch 10 years ago, so is that long enough for a remaster or remake? It sure seems like it given how popular remakes and remasters have become recently, and for anyone watching who wonders what the difference is, remasters are basically just upgraded graphics and textures, along with the game running more smoothly too, and tiny touch-ups like that. So in other words, the developers just make the game better, whereas a remake is literally what the name implies. You remake the entire game from scratch, which is more expensive to do, but sometimes worth it if the game is really old, or if you want to overhaul a ton of stuff, like the Dead Space remake did. Congratulations, you now know the difference between a remaster and a remake, which is great to show off at any dinner table. And while it is possible to remake Mortal Kombat 9, instead of just remastering it, I don't think that's really necessary because the game is still very solid. It's got lots of content, a great roster, all that stuff, so just bump up the graphics and make it run smoother, maybe remove some of the bugs, and you're good to go. People love Mortal Kombat 9, and it doesn't really need anything extra. Which brings us back to the big question, why has NetherRealm not remastered Mortal Kombat 9 yet? Or rather, why hasn't WB told them to remaster MK9 yet? Because as mentioned earlier, it's in high demand and cheap to make. So if WB has NetherRealm remaster MK9, they're pretty much printing money, which makes it so baffling that MK9 isn't remastered yet. I went online to try and find answers, and from what I gathered, it's just this guy. Yup, that's right, and I wish it was a joke, but apparently this guy is the main culprit. This burn victim serial killer is the only reason Mortal Kombat 9 Remastered is not a thing, because WB no longer owns the rights to Freddy Krueger. Their gaming license for that particular character ran out, so if they did decide to remaster MK9, then they'd have to remove Freddy Krueger, which would mean the remaster of this 14-year-old game would actually have less content than the original version. To which I have to say, who actually cares? Give us the darn remaster already. Freddy Krueger was the final character added to Mortal Kombat 9, and the game was still extremely popular. Or in other words, Mortal Kombat 9 was doing just fine before Freddy's inclusion, so we don't need him in the game. Now, would it be preferable to keep him in the game if you could? Yeah, I think so. But also, nobody who wants the MK9 remake is suddenly not going to buy it just because one character is left out, especially a guest character. Alright, that's just how reality works. But alright, enough of my ranting, let's hop on Reddit and see what they have to say. Because I was looking all over the internet, and Reddit, of all places, was the only site actually talking about this with any real details. So yeah, let's have a quick read. Apparently, the film rights for A Nightmare on Elm Street, along with Freddy Krueger, that were owned by New Line Cinema, WB, reverted back to the Wes Craven estate in 2019. I guess that explains why the game got delisted a year or so later. WB does own the international rights to the character, but I'm not entirely sure what that means. In any case, it's a shame if that's what's preventing a potential re-release. Yeah, so there you go. From what I've gathered online, the only real reason that WB and NetherRealm have not remastered Mortal Kombat 9 yet is because they don't have the rights to Freddy Krueger, which in my honest opinion happen is a terrible reason not to make it happen. Just one less character is not gonna freak people out that much, to me at least. Let me know in the comments if you think I'm the crazy one, but in my mind, just one character missing, especially a guest character, should not prevent a remaster from happening. Especially a remaster of Mortal Kombat 9. This game is loved by pretty much everybody, and to this day, I still see people claiming that Mortal Kombat 9 is the best NetherRealm game, so yeah, just remake it. And it looks like Box Soup feels the same way. Why don't we just remove the guest character and call it a day? Due to the PS3 360 era thing, most people never played with Freddy, Kratos, or even on the Kratos stage. Yeah, that's mostly true. A ton of players never even touched Kratos because he was exclusive to the PS3. And as mentioned earlier, Freddy was the last character added to Mortal Kombat 9, so it makes sense that a big chunk of players never used him either because they already moved on to different games. That's just what the average gamer does. They buy a new game, play it for a couple of months, and then move on. They never played Freddy. But next up we have Desperate Cause, who says, because then you're selling people less content than already existed. You think this community would take that well? Honestly, yes, I do think people would be okay with that, mostly because the game was delisted. You can't find MK9 for purchase anywhere unless you get it from someone that already owns the game. No stores online are still selling it, and you won't find it physically in game stores either because it's so old. And as a result, the demand is way up here because the supply is on the floor. It's impossible to find this game anywhere new, which means if it was re-released as a remaster, yes, tons of people would buy it. Now, would some people be upset that Freddy's not in the game? Yeah, maybe so, but at the end of the day, if that's the one thing holding the remaster back, then you should still include it, because think of all the other characters that people want to play. Next up, we have Ufio65, who says, all they'd have to do is port the Vita content over to the console PC, and that would be enough for most people, I think. They'd have to replace the Vita minigames with other things though. No, I don't agree with this idea, mainly because I think it removes the local versus element from that game. Recently, I myself downloaded Tekken 6 to play with my girlfriend and discovered there was no local versus, and I was like, what's going on? Turns out it's the PS Vita version that was ported to the PS5, and the PS Vita version did not have local versus. Now you can still play online, which is fine, but I need the local versus to be an option. That's half the reason I play fighting games. My buddies and I, who all live near each other, want to play the game together on the couch. It's really fun. Then I tried downloading an old Soul Calibur game as well, and guess what? The exact same issue. There was no local multiplayer because, guess what? It was also a PS Vita game that got converted to the PS5. Apparently, it's easier for developers to convert a Vita game to the PS5 than it is for PS3 games, for some reason. Apparently, PS3 games are really weird and complicated because that console was infamously hard to design games for, so trying to copy that game over to PS5 and make it compatible is very difficult, which is why developers are just doing PS Vita versions instead. That's why Tekken 6 is on PS5 if you want to download it, but not Tekken Tag 2, even though that game is way more recent. But I digress. My main point is, when you transfer a PS Vita version of a game over to a newer console, it does not have local versus, and for me personally, that's not ideal. I would hate that. Alright, next up we have Apotheca, who says, honestly, yes, I think people would be fine with an MK9 remaster without Kratos and Freddy. When I think back on MK9, they were never what made me want to play the game. If anything, they ended up making me mad back in the day, like Darth Vader did on Soul Calibur 4 when I played the 360 version, and had no clue what he did every time I came across him. People loved MK9. Some might be upset there's a few missing characters, but due to it being licensing issues and the only way we'll ever get to see the game again, I think people would accept that overall. It's not even a few characters, it's just one, because Kratos was always console exclusive and tons of players did not have a PS3. Now I'm not saying most players, because maybe there were more PS3 owners than Xbox 360 owners, but I don't think that's true regardless. My point is, tons of MK9 lovers never got to play Kratos, so they're not gonna freak out if he's missing in the remaster, which means all we're left with is Freddy Krueger. That man is the only barrier between us, the players, and a Mortal Kombat 9 remaster, and I just think that's ridiculous. You can remove that one character and players will be fine with it. In fact, I'd argue that you could remove pretty much any character from Mortal Kombat 9 and players would be okay with just that one character missing, unless it's Sub-Zero or Scorpion. But in this case, it's just Freddy Krueger, the guest character. He is the only one who would not be able to return for the remaster, and I think most players would be okay with that. Which is why it's so ridiculous that WB and NetherRealm have still not remastered Mortal Kombat 9. But let me know your thoughts on this entire situation in the comments down below. How do you feel about Mortal Kombat 9 getting a remaster? Would you love for that to happen, and would you be be okay if it meant missing out on Freddy Krueger and possibly Kratos as well? If those two characters had to be left out of the game, would you be okay with that if it meant a remaster of Mortal Kombat 9? You already know my opinion because I've been talking for about 10 minutes now, so let me hear your thoughts down below, because like many people watching already know, I love reading each and every comment, so grab that keyboard and make your voices heard. Thanks for watching everyone, and I hope you enjoyed today's video. If you did, please leave a like down below, it helps me out a ton, and I really do mean that. So leave a like down below if you had a good time, and then finish that combo by subscribing and ringing that bell so you never miss any future videos. Make sure to come back next time, and as always, stay underdogs.